So, good afternoon all teachers. Ban tổ chức xin phép check âm thanh và hình ảnh ạ. Các thầy cô có nghe được âm thanh và hình ảnh từ đầu cầu Hà Nội của ban tổ chức không ạ? Nếu các thầy cô nghe rõ và nhìn được rõ hình ạ, vui lòng để lại trái tim hoặc một bông hoa cho ban tổ chức trong chat box được không ạ? Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô rất nhiều ạ. Một buổi chiều mở đầu cho một buổi chiều rất là nhiều hạnh phúc, ấm áp và tình yêu. Cảm ơn các thầy cô rất là nhiều ạ. Chúng ta sẽ bắt đầu buổi hội thảo chỉ trong 1 phút nữa thôi. Vì hiện tại trong khán phòng Zoom chúng ta vẫn đang tiếp tục có rất nhiều các thầy cô tiếp tục join vào hội thảo chuyên đề của chúng ta. Vâng. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô ạ. Vâng, rất nhiều tình cảm đã được gửi đến cho ban tổ chức ạ. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô rất là nhiều. Hiện tại thì trong khán phòng Zoom của chúng tôi số lượng đang tăng lên rất là nhiều. Vâng, ngày hôm nay thì hội thảo chuyên đề của Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam được tổ chức ở trên nền tảng kỹ thuật Zoom webinar và được phát sóng trực tiếp livestream trên kênh YouTube của Sách Mềm. Với thầy cô nào không thể vào được trong khán phòng Zoom này thì các thầy cô hoàn toàn có thể xem trực tiếp tại kênh YouTube Sách Mềm và sau này có thể xem lại bản recording trên fanpage Sách Mềm của chúng tôi ạ. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô rất là nhiều. Vâng, xin được nhiệt liệt chào mừng tất cả quý thầy cô đã đến với hội thảo chuyên đề bồi dưỡng phương pháp giảng dạy sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success của Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam và Nhà xuất bản Pearson Education. Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay được mở đầu cho chuỗi hội thảo chuyên đề sẽ được tổ chức trong mùa hè này của Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam, và hy vọng rằng mặc dù một năm học vừa mới kết thúc và giờ phút này chắc hẳn các thầy cô đang rất muốn mình phải enjoy một cái summer thực sự là nghỉ ngơi thảnh thơi sau một năm học online rất là vất vả, nhưng mà chúng ta đã dành thời gian quý báu của mình để tham dự hội thảo chuyên đề ngày hôm nay. Nhưng chúng tôi tin chắc rằng trong 2 tiếng tới đây chắc chắn sẽ là những giờ phút vô cùng hạnh phúc và thực sự thú vị với các thầy cô, bởi những cái thông tin mà diễn giả trainer của chúng ta sẽ chia sẻ trong 2 tiếng với các thầy cô để sẵn sàng cho các thầy cô có thêm được những kiến thức cũng như là những kỹ năng chuẩn bị cho những cái giờ học của mình trong thời gian sắp tới. Kính thưa các thầy cô, lời đầu tiên Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam xin được trân trọng gửi tới quý thầy cô là các lãnh đạo sở, phòng giáo dục đào tạo, cán bộ quản lý, chuyên viên phụ trách và toàn thể các quý thầy cô giáo đang giảng dạy tiếng Anh tại các tỉnh, các sở giáo dục và đào tạo tại miền Bắc. Và đến dự hội thảo ngày hôm nay, chúng tôi cũng xin được trân trọng giới thiệu với sự góp mặt của các thầy cô là tác giả, biên soạn bộ sách series tiếng Anh Global Success. Và đặc biệt, ban tổ chức xin được trân trọng giới thiệu những đại diện đến từ Nhà xuất bản Pearson Education, một đối tác vô cùng chặt chẽ và đã đồng hành với Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam trong suốt thời gian vừa qua. Về phía Pearson, chúng tôi xin được trân trọng giới thiệu bà Đỗ Thị Minh Nguyệt, giám đốc Pearson tại Việt Nam, khu vực Thái Lan và Campuchia. Trân trọng giới thiệu bà Đỗ Thị Minh Nguyệt. Và trân trọng giới thiệu bà Nguyễn Thị Hường, giám đốc kinh doanh tại Việt Nam và Campuchia. Và một người vô cùng đặc biệt quan trọng, người sẽ đồng hành cùng với những chúng ta ngày hôm nay, sẽ là người truyền cảm hứng cho các thầy cô với những thông tin vô cùng hữu ích. Xin được trân trọng giới thiệu Trainer Teacher Connie, giảng viên chuyên gia của Pearson ạ. Xin được chào cô ạ. Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay sẽ tập trung giới thiệu cho các thầy cô những cái ứng dụng của kỹ năng học tập của thế kỷ 21 cho học sinh của mình sẽ đạt được những cái thành công trong tương lai. Và channel của chúng ta sẽ sử dụng các cái ngữ liệu trong bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success để giới thiệu cho các thầy cô. Vâng, chúng ta đã nghe rất nhiều đến các cái cụm từ 4Cs đúng không ạ? Chút nữa thì các thầy cô sẽ xem lại về 4Cs nó là những cái gì ạ? Đó là những cái kỹ năng học tập của thế kỷ 21. Chúng ta nghe rất nhiều nhưng chúng ta hãy xem là vậy những cái kỹ năng đấy nó đã được triển khai thực hiện như thế nào trong bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success. Và cô Connie ngày hôm nay sẽ giúp cho các thầy cô khám phá ra cái cuốn sách của mình sẽ được dạy như thế nào để phát triển những cái kỹ năng đấy cho học sinh. Và tất nhiên những cái thông tin và những cái nội dung mà cô Connie chia sẻ ngày hôm nay không chỉ để dành cho riêng các học sinh học bộ sách giáo khoa Global Success, mà đối với những học sinh học những bộ sách giáo khoa có thể được học và giáo viên có thể ứng dụng những cái kỹ thuật này trong việc lên lớp của mình. Và trong buổi ngày hôm nay thì giảng viên cũng sẽ có những cái giúp cho các thầy cô trải nghiệm được những cái hoạt động rất là hữu ích để có thể phát triển các cái kỹ năng học tập này. Và diễn giả cũng sẽ cung cấp cho các thầy cô những cái cách thức triển khai tối đa các cái hoạt động trong bộ sách tiếng Anh Global Success để ứng dụng cái việc học tập này trong cái kỹ năng thực tế của thế kỷ 21. Vâng, với những cái thông tin vô cùng hấp dẫn như vậy thì Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam với những sứ mệnh đồng hành và cam kết đồng hành với quý thầy cô giáo trên toàn quốc, hy vọng sẽ mang lại cho các thầy cô những giây phút vô cùng quý báu và buổi chia sẻ sẽ thực sự là hữu ích cho các thầy cô. Và thưa các thầy cô, trước khi nhường lời cho presenter channel của chúng ta hôm nay thì chúng tôi xin được giới thiệu với các thầy cô những cái thông tin chung về cô Connie. Vâng, cô hiện tại đang sinh sống và làm việc tại Argentina. Cô đã có bề dày kinh nghiệm trong lĩnh vực giảng dạy tiếng Anh qua rất nhiều các cái vị trí như là giám đốc học thuật, giám đốc dự án đào tạo giáo viên tiếng Anh và giảng dạy tiếng Anh cho các hệ thống tiếng Anh lớn và các trường đại học quốc tế tại Việt Nam. Cô Connie bắt đầu giảng dạy tiếng Anh từ năm 1987 và cho tất cả các đối tượng từ trẻ em, thiếu niên cho tới người lớn. Các khóa học tiếng Anh đa dạng từ tiếng Anh tổng quát, tiếng Anh học thuật và tiếng Anh thương mại cho tới luyện thi các chứng chỉ quốc tế. Từ năm 2006 thì cô Connie đã tham gia giảng dạy khóa học đào tạo tiếng Anh, các hội thảo chuyên ngành trực tuyến được thiết kế riêng cho giáo viên. Cô đã là giám đốc học thuật và nghiên cứu tại các nước trong khu vực châu Á như Trung Quốc, Hồng Kông và Việt Nam. Cô là một người đam mê ứng dụng công nghệ trong việc dạy học, đặc biệt là các giải pháp sử dụng công nghệ giúp giáo viên hỗ trợ các nhu cầu của người học và giúp họ có một cái động lực tối đa hóa trong việc dạy tiếng Anh. Với những cái kinh nghiệm và năng lực chuyên môn như vậy thì ban tổ chức chúng tôi rất hy vọng chuyên gia đến từ Pearson sẽ mang lại cho các thầy cô những cái nội dung và thông tin vô cùng hữu ích, và chúng ta sẽ thực sự là cảm thấy rằng bộ sách series tiếng Anh Global Success của chúng ta sẽ thực sự hấp dẫn, được trải nghiệm và sẽ được sử dụng như thế nào thông qua các kỹ thuật giảng dạy mà cô Connie sẽ chia sẻ trong buổi chiều nay. Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, ban tổ chức xin nhắc lại một lần nữa, buổi hội thảo chuyên đề ngày hôm nay đang được truyền trực tiếp livestream trên kênh YouTube sách mềm và trong khán phòng Zoom webinar. Và với các tính năng của khán phòng này thì các thầy cô cũng đã biết rồi, chúng ta sẽ trao đổi với nhau qua mục chat box hoặc Q&A. Tuy nhiên với tất cả những câu hỏi liên quan đến phần chuyên môn, các thầy cô vui lòng đánh các câu hỏi của mình vào trong mục Q&A để ban tổ chức cũng như giảng viên có thể lưu trữ và đọc lại, tránh là type ở trong tin nhắn thì chúng tôi sẽ bị trôi tin và sẽ không đọc được những câu hỏi của quý vị. Và đến cuối buổi ngày hôm nay thì sẽ có phần khai báo thông tin thì các thầy cô có thể gửi về chúng tôi để chúng tôi có thể cung cấp cái chứng chỉ tham dự buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay đến với tất cả quý thầy cô. Vâng, xin cảm ơn các thầy cô rất nhiều, và ngay sau đây thì xin phép được nhường lời cho cô Connie để bắt đầu cái buổi ngày hôm nay. And it's a big welcome, Miss Connie. Thank you very much.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's early morning for me, but it's really nice to be with you today. I am now going to share my screen so that you can see my PowerPoint. Very good. And so we can start the session. A very, very warm welcome. This is a picture I took a few years ago in Sapa. Isn't it lovely? I wanted to remind myself of what a nice country Vietnam is. All right. Let's get ready. I'd like to see your names if possible. So I'd like you to find the participants box at the bottom of your screen and go to your name and choose rename if possible, so that I can see a name in case you send a message or write a nice comment and I can talk to you directly. Thank you. All right, our session today is entitled Learning Skills for 21st Century Learners. This session is a bit like planting a seed that will grow very quickly in the future. So I will share a few seeds with you that you can then plant in your classrooms. Let's start with the idea of some skills. When we talk about skills, 21st century skills, what kind of skills do you think we are talking about? Can you write in the chat box the skills you think we need for the 21st century? Listening and speaking, yes, yes, correct. These are general skills in the classroom. I see communication, critical thinking, correct? Yes. Very good. Problem solving, social skills, collaboration, cooperation, correct? Writing. Good. I can see that we have a mix of skills here, the skills that we use for teaching English and general skills for the 21st century. In fact, there are actually 12 skills that I was thinking about. And these skills that I was thinking about are divided into 3 main groups. The learning skills, which are the ones most of you have been mentioning, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. The literacy skills. The literacy skills are very interesting because nowadays, while we develop the learning skills, we focus on these 4 C's in the classroom. We are also helping students to develop literacy skills because learners today use technology in order to gather information, do research, and manage information. They also use a range of media to access and share information. And at the same time, we're also developing life skills by getting students to collaborate on tasks and different projects. We're enabling them to develop flexibility, leadership, initiative, productivity, and social skills. Group work, for example, requires both leading and following, listening to others, respecting each other's opinions, therefore being flexible, and presenting ideas in such a way that we can persuade others. So in the 21st century skills, what we are getting ready is we're getting ready to interact with others. And learners nowadays interact at a global scale, in a foreign language, with people from different countries, cultures, and even different walks of life. Therefore, good social skills are more important now than ever before, because they facilitate better interactions, and they are essential to understand different points of view, resolve conflict, and manage work and relationships. Let's now focus on the key skills we are going to be working with on this workshop, with this webinar today. We're going to focus on the 4 learning skills, which are the ones that as teachers we try to incorporate into our lesson plans in the classroom. And we're going to start with the first one, communication. Now, not long ago, communication meant just talking to each other, like these 2 Vietnamese boys in the Mekong Delta. Now, with social media, there are many more ways of communicating with others. So I would like us now to explore communication skills in the 21st century. Let me start by telling you a little bit about me. As you can see, I've got two flags in my screen. The Vietnamese flag, because I have spent 12 years of my life in Vietnam. Yes, 12 years. First in Vung Tau City and then in Ho Chi Minh City. Now, last year, my husband and I decided to return back to the UK, where we live now, in order to spend more time with our families. Families are important, right? Well, here's a picture of my family. You can see my mom and dad on the right-hand side, me at the back, my two sisters, the one in the foreground is my elder sister, my younger sister, and my elder sister's husband. I want to tell you a little bit about my family life. In my family, the breadwinner is my father. He is the one who works to support the family. And nowadays, with the new technology, my father works from home. My mum, here at the front, is the homemaker. She is the one who looks after us and after our home and makes sure that we're all right. My sisters and I help with the housework. We sometimes do the cleaning, and obviously we make our beds every day. We also help with the washing up. We do the dishes after every meal. Now, who do you think does the groceries in my family? Who goes to the supermarket for grocery shopping? Can you guess in the chat box? My mum? Well, actually, it's my dad. My dad goes to, my mum prepares a long list of groceries, and my dad goes to the supermarket and does the grocery shopping. And who do you think does the cooking in my family? My dad, you're right. My dad is the one that does the cooking. So he cooks for all the family and with the groceries that he bought in the supermarket. So this is my family life. Now I would like to go over to you and see how much of my family life you can remember. Yes, you're right, Trang. My dad is a wonderful man. He really does a lot to look after our family. Let's see how much you can remember. So, who did I say was the breadwinner in my family? Yes, my dad, very good. And who does the housework? My sisters and myself, very good, correct, yes, you're very right. Now, who does the washing up at the end of every meal? My dad does the washing up. Very good, some of you got it right. Good. Now, who goes to the supermarket for the grocery shopping? My dad, correct, very good. And who is the homemaker? My mum, perfect. Yes, my mum is the homemaker. And finally, who does the cooking? my dad, very good. It seems that my dad does a lot of work in the house, right? Yes. Now, who does the cooking in your family in Vietnam? I see a lot of me's, so that means the mother, perhaps. Mum, yes, my husband. So I see some men cooking in Vietnam as well. Very good. So we can see some similarities and differences. Most women, correct? Mum-in-law, good. We can see some similarities and differences between my family life and your family life. Now, this is a little activity, a simple activity that can lead into Unit 1, Family Life, of the student book for grade 10. Now, as you can see here, the student book for grade 10 is about household chores. So I've selected 5 or 6 vocabulary items from the unit to introduce in an authentic way. It's very important in the 21st century to set realistic context whenever possible. Why? Because this engages students and keeps them motivated. Students are interested to know about us in the same way that you are probably interested to know a little bit about me. So introducing key vocabulary in a real and more personal context makes the vocabulary more memorable and prepares students very well to start learning once they open the book and move on to the activities on the book. Something else that we can do is introduce scavenger hunts. I'm sure you all know what a scavenger hunt is. This is when we give students a list of things to find. They can find them around the classroom, they can go and find them online, or they can look for them in the house and perhaps make a drawing or take pictures of them. Well, I've got a few things that I would like you to find. I would like you to look for something with 5 letters, a word with 5 letters in your house that can be found in your house, especially in your kitchen. Also something red, something bigger than your hand and smaller than your head, and something you can eat. So I give you a few minutes to think about this, a few seconds to think about this. And then we're going to share in the chat room, in the chat box. So let's start with something with 5 letters. I see apple, stove bread, carrot, pencil, beef. Tomatoes has a lot of letters, but that's all right. Well, let's consider something red. Perhaps tomatoes could be the red thing. Apple. Anything else that is red? Sauce, very good. Candy can be red. A cloth can be red. Flowers. Good. What about something bigger than your hand and smaller than your head? Something bigger than your hand and smaller than your head. A bowl, maybe. An onion can be bigger than your hand, yes. A dish. Pumpkin. Good. What about something you can eat that you can find in your kitchen? Rice, of course. In every Vietnamese kitchen, there's rice. Soup, pork. Excellent. Now, we've been sharing our answers in the chat box, but how do teenagers nowadays talk to each other and share what's going on in their lives? Online, correct? Have a look at this picture. What are these Vietnamese teenagers doing? They're texting, social media, online, chatting. Facebook, very good. Yeah, social media in general. Correct. Zalo, of course. In Asia, Zalo is very, very well known, very popular. TikTok. Yes. Well, so I was thinking that when developing communication, in the past we used to think about talking face to face. But nowadays, in the 21st century, communication can be taken to social media. And we could ask our students, we could give them a Facebook post template or an Instagram template, and we can ask them to design a post with their answers of the scavenger hunt. Now, some students may choose to use words as their answers, and so they may write a red thing. My red thing is an apple. My the thing that I can eat is rice. But some of the students may prefer to draw, to use drawings instead of words, and they may insert pictures or drawings into the Instagram post. This is another way of communicating. It's non-verbal, correct? And it is very helpful because we can all have a preferred way of communication that may be different from the ways other people communicate. So the highlight of this section is that communication in the first century can happen in different ways, and written communication is as important as oral communication. And at times, like in this one, where we are working together on this webinar, written communication is perhaps even more important than oral communication. So something important for us to bear in mind when we create activities in the classroom. Let's remember that students can communicate with us and interact using the spoken word and the written word. Now let's move on and focus on another one of the learning skills. This time we are going to focus on critical thinking. Now, critical thinking in short means thinking more deeply, and perhaps it means looking at things in different ways to find solutions to new problems that we face in the 21st century. Thinking critically involves observing a situation in order to solve a problem by comparing and contrasting ideas, analyzing concepts, and using logic to solve new problems that we've never faced before. So the solutions we used in the past may not work nowadays. So we're going to try and think about how to incorporate critical thinking activities into our classroom. One area where critical thinking can help is grammar. Now, how do we teach grammar? There are two main approaches to teaching grammar. Can anyone name these two teaching approaches? PPP is a lesson planning technique. Yes, correct. Inductively and deductively. Very good. So here are the two approaches to teaching grammar. Highlighted in blue, it's the deductive approach. The deductive approach is, in short, considered rule-driven because the teacher starts the presentation with the rule, the grammar rule, and then presents a few examples of how that rule can be applied to make sentences. The inductive approach, highlighted in green, is more of a rule discovery approach because the teacher starts presenting a few examples, and then by looking at the examples and comparing them, students discover the rule. So that is why it's called, for short, rule discovery. So here is a summary. The deductive approach starts with the rule. It's rule-driven. And the inductive approach starts with the examples. So it's a rule discovery approach. Now, here is an extract from the book, from the student's book for grade 10. It's unit 1. Have a look at the presentation from the book. Which approach do you think is used here? Correct, the deductive approach, because the first thing that students read in the book is the rule. We use the present simple to talk about habits and things we do regularly. So we see the rule and then we see an example. My mother cooks every day. And then after we've seen the rule and the example, we get an exercise. So the students put the rule into practice by doing exercise 1. I would like to suggest a different approach to teaching grammar. Let's try the inductive approach, where the students discover the rule instead of getting it in the book. So how would the inductive approach work? Well, I said before that the inductive approach starts with examples. Here are 2 examples. Have a look at these 2 examples. Which are the verbs? Can you find the verbs? Tell me which are the verbs. Very good. Does is one of the verbs. Which is the other verb? Is doing, correct. Does and it's doing. Does and it's doing. Very well. Now, what is the difference in meaning between these 2 sentences? How are these 2 sentences different? The tense, very good. The first one refers regular work. Yes, something perhaps she does every day. What about the second one? What is the meaning of Mrs. Lan is doing the cooking in her family? Correct, it is happening now. Very good. So in the first sentence, this is an activity that happens every day, whereas in the second sentence, it's an activity that is happening now. Now, which words can I add to these sentences to show this difference in meaning? Which words can I add to these sentences to show that the activity is happening every day. Adverbs, very good. Adverbs is frequency. In the first sentence, for example, Mrs. Lamb does the cooking in her family. Which words? Every day, very good. Well, I'm going to add usually. Mrs. Lamb usually does the cooking in her family. Often, very good. What about the second sentence? Now, very good. Now Mrs. Lamb is doing the cooking in her family. So we've added adverbs to strengthen the differences in meaning between these two sentences. Good. So now we are ready to write the rules, to discover these rules and write our own rules for the simple present and the present continuous tense. So let's try and write a rule for the use of the simple present tense. What would the rule be? We use the simple present tense when we describe habits and routines. Very good. When we are talking about habits and routines. Well done. And what would the rule be for the present continuous tense? We use the present continuous tense to talk about an action in progress, an action happening now. Very good. So we've reached our our rules, the moment in which we discover the rules for those two tenses. We go back to the book now and we look at the rules in the book. In what way are our rules similar or different? Very good. They're actually quite similar, our rules, yes. So we use the present tense to talk about habits or things we do regularly. And we use the present continuous tense to talk about things that are happening at the moment of speaking. That is a bit different. We said we use the present continuous tense for things happening now. Now, which words did we add to clarify the meaning? We added two adverbs to our sentences to clarify the meaning. Yes, every day and now, or usually and now. So look how we are thinking more deeply about the rules and the examples. And we could then ask the students to add this new information about adverbs to the rules that appear on the book. So this little exercise has involved the students in thinking more deeply about rules, about how to use the simple present tense and the present continuous tense, about the differences in meaning, and the use or the role that the adverbs of frequency play to clarify the meaning of these two tenses. This is what we call a grammar discovery technique. It is when we get the students to discover rules rather than tell them, open the book on page 10 and read about the rules on the book. These activities, discovery activities, develop critical thinking skills and help students to understand the differences more clearly. Let's now think about another activity that we can use to develop critical thinking skills in the classroom. This activity involves comparing and contrasting finding similarities and differences between things. Here are 3 devices. These devices are inventions of the 20th century, and I've chosen these 3. Now, these 3 pictures, which devices are they showing? What can you see in the 3 pictures? A mobile phone, correct? On the left, a laptop on the right, and an iPad. Good, good. So we've got the mobile phone, the iPad in the middle, and the laptop on the right. We're going to compare these 3 inventions of the 20th century. And we're going to do it all together in Padlet. Have you ever used Padlet before? Yes, good, brilliant. Well, you can access Padlet on your mobile phone using the QR code on the left-hand side of the screen. Or, yes, Ruby's going to share the link in the chat box, so you can use the link in the chat box. I am going to go to Padlet now and share my Padlet screen so that we can all compare and contrast these 3 devices together. As you can see, I've added 1 characteristic for each of these devices. So smartphones improve the way we work and study. Laptops allow us to do things faster, very good. So by just clicking on this cross like this, you can add a new characteristic or benefit or advantage. I'm going to add 1. And then I'm going to publish it. Good, we've got a lot of good ideas for smartphones. What about laptops and iPads? Good. Any other ideas to share? Laptops allow us to export documents into PDF. Great. Portable, convenient, good. Yes, correct. Learn conveniently, take easily. What about iPads? iPads are portable too, good. Save information. Easy to take. Very good. So Padlet, as you can see, is a very easy tool that can be used both in the classroom and at home to brainstorm ideas and share information with each other. As you can see, some of the information in this Padlet is the same. So we're saying that laptops are portable and iPads are portable too. I am now going to stop sharing the Padlet, and we're going to go back to the PowerPoint. I'm going to share my PowerPoint screen again. There we are. And we're going to think a little bit more deeply about all this information that we've gathered, brainstormed together about iPhones, iPads, and laptops. For example, one of the things we said was that some of these devices help us work faster. Now, Venn diagrams are great to consolidate and synthesize information in such a way that we can now know which of the information or the qualities apply to one or more than one of these devices. For example, the intersection here in the middle applies to iPads and iPhones, iPads, and laptops here in the middle. Now, work faster is a benefit that we have from using the three devices. So it goes in the middle section. All iPads, iPhones, and laptops help us to work faster. What about apps? In which intersection do you think apps should be included? iPhones have apps, very good. Is it just iPhones that have apps? iPhones and iPads, correct. So apps would probably go in this section because even though there are some apps for laptops, most of the apps that we used are for iPhones and iPads. So this activity, which started with brainstorming ideas about a certain topic, where we were comparing and contrasting three devices, which then took us to read again all the information in the Padlet, read again, find similarities and differences, and summarize ideas in a Venn diagram, has allowed us to think more deeply about these three devices, and in a way has prepared students to actively participate in a discussion about these three devices. It is a simple activity that helps students to select, organize, present information, and get ready to justify their opinions and justify their contributions to a discussion. So they would be ready to what we call a ranking discussion. In a ranking discussion, students have to look at these three devices and decide, for example, which is the top device or the most useful device for learning. Which do you think is the most useful device for learning English? All right, we will all have, I see a lot of laptops, but I also see smartphones and iPads. So each of us will have different opinions about which is the top device for learning English. And in a ranking discussion, because we all may have different ideas, we will have to justify our opinions and our decisions. And so the activity of brainstorming in a Padlet and then using the Venn diagram to synthesize information and find reasons to justify our ideas and opinions prepares us very well for a ranking discussion where we critically analyze three ideas, three devices, three concepts. So I recommend the use of Padlet for brainstorming and the use of Venn diagrams for synthesizing information and thinking more deeply about things. Let's now move on into the next learning skill. In this case, we are going to move into creativity. Now, creativity is a skill that is often confused because sometimes we think that creativity refers to being good at drawing or painting. When we talk about learning skills, creativity refers to thinking outside the box, to being able to look at a situation and think about it in a different way, look at it from different angles. Here's one example that we can bring into the classroom where we are inviting students to think about things in different ways. This is called the odd one out activity, where as a teacher we choose 4 words or 4 activities, and we ask the students to identify which of these activities is different from the other activities. So have a look at these 4 activities and tell me, which one do you think is the odd one out? I see playing soccer. Those of you who think it's playing soccer, can you tell me why this activity is different from the other 3? Why have you chosen playing soccer? It's important to justify our opinions and ideas. And with creativity, there are no right and wrong answers. That is the interesting thing about creativity. I see making models because it's a creative activity, whereas the other 3 are not. Very good. Now, what about playing soccer? Those of you who think playing soccer is the odd one out, because it is a sport, because we don't have any products. Okay, very good. That's also a valid answer. What about those who say making models? Why is making models the odd one out? Because it's not a hobby. Gardening is not a hobby. Very good. Okay. Another reason could be that gardening usually happens in the garden, whereas the others probably don't happen in the garden. All of these answers are possible, and that is what creativity gives us. It helps us to think about things in different ways. So I thought we could look perhaps at sports and hobbies, and we see that one of the main differences is that playing soccer involves physical activity and it involves competition. So for me, the odd one out would be playing soccer. But like I said before, the interesting thing about odd one out activities is that all of the answers are possible and that we can push students to think harder and to look at why one of the activities could be an odd one, the odd one out, and why another activity could be the odd one out. Now, the odd one out can also be used in other ways. Let's have a look at this other activity or example of the odd one out. Have a look at these 4 words and have a think again about which one could be the odd one out. What do they have that is similar and what could be different? I see surf, okay. Why would surf be the odd one out? What would be the reason for surf to be the odd one out? We don't have to pay attention. Surf must be outdoors. Yes, correct. Surf is not work. Yes, especially if we're thinking about surfing on the beach. Yeah, correct. Very good. I saw earlier on that a few of you chose collect as the odd one out. Why would collect be the odd one out? Collect can go after all others, all right? Any other ideas? Why can collect be the odd one out? 2 syllables. That's a very good answer. Very good. Well done. Well, my answer is taken from the book. And it could become a pronunciation activity. So why do you think now that collect is the odd one out? The sound, very good. So collect uses the schwa sound, whereas learn, serve, and work uses the sound. Well done. In this case, for example, if I was using it as a pronunciation activity, there would always be a correct answer and an answers that are not correct, long and short sounds. But as we did at the beginning, when we first looked at these 4 words, we can look at odd one out exercises and accept all the possible answers, and also use odd one out for pronunciation activities to help students discriminate between sounds. Really good activities that develop creative thinking. Another way of developing creative thinking activities is word clouds. There is a website called Word It Out that enables teachers to create word clouds. Here's a word cloud. A word cloud is a cloud with lots of words in different colors and different sizes. All we need to do is copy and paste text from the student's book or the workbook and copy it into the word cloud link. Then the website will generate a word cloud like this one that we can use to prepare students before doing an activity on the book. Now, have a look at these word cloud. You see that some words are bigger and some are smaller. Why do you think that is? Have a look at the size of these words. Why are some words, why is the word museum bigger than the other words? Yes, in the text, which I copied into the website, the bigger words are the more important words. They are the key words, correct? And the website knows this because perhaps in the text which I copied into the website, the word museum was mentioned more than once. And so Word It Out knows which are the key words because they are the words that are important and they're the words that are the main ideas, correct? And they are the words that may be mentioned more than once. So now, having a look at these words from the text in the book, what do you think is the topic of the text? What is the text about? Arts, yes. Paris, correct. Museums in the world, or do you think it's a special museum? Paris, very good. Famous museums, yes. Art galleries, correct. Italy, maybe. The Louvre Museum, very good. The Louvre Museum is a very important museum in Paris. is one of the largest museums in the world. So the text that students are going to read next is about the Louvre Museum in Paris. Now, looking at all of these words that are from the text, can you take a minute to write the longest sentence you can think of, using as many words from the cloud as you can? I'll give you a minute. You can perhaps write your longest sentence on a piece of paper, on a blank piece of paper, and then copy it into the chat. Try and use as many words from the word cloud as you can. Let's see who can write the longest sentence about the Louvre Museum in Paris. Very good. A trip to the most famous museum in the world. Nice sentence. Louvre is one of the most famous museums in the world. Very good. The Louvre Museum contains the most valuable paintings in the world. That's a very long sentence. Well done. When tourists come to the Louvre Museum in Paris, they can enjoy many impressive and valuable paintings and drawings. That's excellent. Well done. Very good. Louvre is the most famous historical museum in the world. Louvre Museum in Paris, one of the world's largest museum. Oh, so long, these sentences are so long and happening so fast that I can't read them all. Well done. So the students will have written a long sentence with the key words from the text that they're going to be working on before actually opening the book. And we are getting them to know the topic of the activity. They are working with the words they're going to need to use, and they already have a good idea of what the text is going to be about. Now, I have chosen 5 numbers from the text. These are numbers I have taken from the text in the word cloud. Can you guess what these numbers mean, what they refer to? These are numbers from the text about the Louvre Museum in Paris. Can you make a creative guess at what these numbers refer to? I see tourists. Which number refers to tourists? Number 1, date of opening. Very good. The 10th of August could be the date of opening or the year it was built. 380,000 books. Very good. I see many of you mentioning tourists. Which number do you think refers to tourists? The number of tourists per year. 35,000 pictures. Very good. And tourists? 35,000 tourists. Okay, yeah. 537 visitors. Of the 537 is the paintings. All right. Okay, good. Now I'm going to help you a bit more, and I'm going to give you some words so that you can match the numbers to the words. 25,000 visitors. 10th of August is the date of the museum was opened. Very good. We're still guessing at this stage because we haven't read the text. When I gave you the numbers, you were making creative guesses because you had very little information. When I showed you the words and the numbers helped you to start making good connections using logical thinking. Because the 10th of August 1793 is a date, we can link it to the word opened. And this is a process that we do using, or that we solve this problem using both critical thinking and creativity skills. Next, I'm going to show you the answers. We can see that perhaps it was easy to guess the date of the museum was opened, and perhaps the number of objects, because the Louvre Museum is a very large museum. So we could think, well, this is the number of all the objects that include paintings, works of art, and other stuff in the museum. So thinking more deeply and using creativity helps us find the answers to the matching exercise. We are now ready to fill in the blanks. So here's the exercise 2 from the student's book for grade 7. Have a quick read and let's see if we can all together fill in the blanks. So for number 1, we could say that the Louvre Museum has one of the most impressive art collections I see. Very good. Art collections, very good. The museum opened on the 10th of August 1793 with a collection of 537 paintings, an exhibition, very good, an exhibition of 537 paintings. Let's have a look at number 3. The Louvre displays 35,000 works of art. Excellent. Excellent. It exhibits sculptures, objects of art. Number 4. Paintings, correct. Number 4 is paintings. And the last one, number 5, about 20,000, 25,000 visitors. Very good, visitors. Excellent. So here you can see how a simple exercise, a simple gap fill exercise with a little tweak and a little preparation on the teacher's part can be used to develop critical thinking skills, creativity, work with the vocabulary a little bit more to make it more memorable, and to help students to learn, to guess, to predict, and to get ready for things that are new in the 21st century. Another activity that is very good for developing creativity is draw and tell. The draw and tell activity is a great way to discuss ideas and concepts. Drawing develops both creativity and critical thinking skills, and telling develops communication skills. When this activity is done in pairs or in groups, the learners develop collaboration skills. So it's a great activity for developing critical thinking skills. Let's have a look at this project from the student's book for grade 7, Unit 11, Traveling in the Future. The topic of this project is our future means of transport. This activity then involves imagining or creating, designing a means of transport for the future. Drawing can support thinking and creating because it helps us visualize our ideas. It is especially useful in the foreign language classroom because we may not know in grade 7 all the words to describe the means of transport of the future, to express what we want to say. So drawing will help students visualize their means of transport of the future. Now, I'll give you a minute or two to think about your future means of transport. Well, if we were in the classroom, I would ask you to draw it first, to work with a partner and draw, design, create your future means of transport. As we are here in Zoom and you're using the chat box, perhaps you can use some words to describe your future means of transport. Let's think about 10 years from now, in 2032. How do you think we will be traveling to work? Oh, with a jetpack. That sounds, flying cars, that sounds exciting. Drones, capsules. Flying cars seem to be very popular. Eco-friendly cars, yes, to protect the environment. Hydro-powered cars, good. Broomstick, oh, that's a lot of fun. That's great. Love broomstick. Or teleporter. Well, in my case, like some of you would agree, have agreed with me, I think that in 2032, we are going to have driverless cars, cars without a driver that drive themselves. And we are going to be able to sit opposite each other and chat and have a coffee or read a book, and we will be taken from one destination to the next in our driverless car. What do you think of this idea? Can you react to my idea of driverless cars? To react to my ideas, you can use an emoticon face in the chat box. You love the idea, very good. You think it's okay? Some of you think it's dangerous. Yes, could be. What if the computer doesn't work? Useful, I guess. Okay. That sounds nice. Relaxed. It could be both relaxed and dangerous, I think. Good. Stuck in the rush hour, yeah. Perhaps better flying cars. Unemployment, definitely. Much safer. You can see that in the chat box, some of you have chosen words to react to my idea of the driverless car, and some of you have used pictures, a heart, a thumbs up, maybe a face, an emoticon face, where you see a smiling face reacting to an idea. Reacting in this way is inclusive because even shy learners can get the chance to share their opinions without feeling threatened or intimidated. It also enables you as learners to choose your preferred way of communication. You can choose to react using words or react using pictures or faces. Thank you for all your reactions to my driverless car idea. So these activities were used to help develop creativity and critical thinking. And you've shared a lot of really good ideas that in the class we can explore. Another of the learning skills that I'd like to explore with you today is the last one, collaboration. Collaboration means that students share ideas to come to the best idea possible. Collaboration means working with others. This can sometimes be a bit challenging. What do you think are the key challenges that Vietnamese learners have when they are asked to collaborate in groups? What challenges have you got in the Vietnamese classroom when you asked students to collaborate? Some are active and some are not. Some are shy, correct? Competition, yeah. Yeah, mixed levels, laziness. Sometimes there is not enough space in the classroom, yeah. Speaking L1, noise, yeah. Lack of confidence, lazy, misbehavior. Well, we always think of collaboration as done in the classroom and in groups where all the students are actually speaking. So that creates noise, there isn't enough space, and the lazy students get lost. They can pretend not to be working and not do much. So the website Padlet that we used before for the activity of comparing and contrasting devices can help us here, because in Padlet, students are contributing ideas silently. If you are not allowed to use mobile phones, or you don't have internet in the classroom to use Padlet, you can use a very large piece of paper, which can be put on the tables or on the floor, and you could ask students all to write ideas on the paper at the same time. So all of the ideas are accepted, all of the ideas are on the paper, and everyone can have, for example, a different color marker, and everyone adds those ideas which we as teachers can visually see on paper. Then students can go back to those ideas, select, combine them, work them together in order to get the best idea. So in the 21st century, we need to find different ways of getting students to collaborate, and perhaps also give each student a role. So there are the students who contribute ideas, there are the students who find similar ideas and connect them, there is the students who summarize the ideas on the Padlet or on the page that you're using in the classroom. So giving students roles and finding different ways of communicating. Remember, not just speaking, but writing as well. Here is a project from the student's book for grade 7, unit 5. This project is about eating habits around the world. Now, in this project, students will have to use a lot of the 21st century skills that we've been talking about today. So the first thing they need to do is they've got to design a poster about the eating habits in an area or foreign country. So the first thing they need to do as a group is choose an area of the foreign country. They have to choose an area and they've got to collaborate. We've got to teach our students to accept all ideas like we were doing in the Padlet. You know, first we brainstorm ideas and we accept all of the ideas. Then we stop after a minute or two, the brainstorming stops. We go back to our page or our Padlet. We look at all the areas and foreign countries that were listed and we select. So the stages of brainstorming and making a selection are different stages. They should not happen together. If we are to allow all students to participate, even the lazy students, then the brainstorming stage has to be separate from the choosing stage. In the brainstorming stage, everyone collaborates and all ideas are accepted. And then we move on to the selecting stage, and in the selecting stage, we vote and we select the area or foreign country we want to work on. And in that way, all the students participate. The next stage would be finding names of main meals and meal times in that area, or choosing common food and drink for the meals in that common area. So it's the research and selecting information stage. This involves critical thinking. Students can use Google to search for information. They're going to get a lot of information online, and they've got to read and select, read and select. So once again, giving each student in the group a role. So some of them will look for main meals, others will look for food, others will focus on drinks, others will find photos to illustrate those meals. So every student has a role, everyone contributes to the project. The next stage will be designing posters. Here's where creativity comes into play. And creativity is important. Remember, creativity is not just about drawing. It is about the design of the poster. So even students who cannot draw or are not very good at drawing can participate in the design of the poster. Finally, students are asked to make a presentation. So this is the communication aspect of the project. The students make their presentation, their poster presentations in front of the classroom. Now, I would like to suggest that to these project stages that you have in the book, we add a reaction stage. Students listening to the poster presentations can react. This is another way of communicating. Think about it. In this day and age, teenagers communicate with each other and react to each other's ideas and texts and posts in many different ways. Reacting is a way of engaging students in the 21st century. And here are some emoticon and emoji faces and other drawings that can be used to react to content in the 21st century and keep students engaged and motivated. Now, I've added a new one, this purple flower. What do you think this purple flower means? What message does it give? Sympathy, okay. sympathy meaning your work, your poster presentation was not very good, but I sympathize with you. Or congrats, gratitude, emotion, encouragement. Yes. Oh, that's great. Good. Like, yeah. Well done. Excellent. So I am encouraging you to use the common traditional faces, the love heart, the smile, the tear, the angry face. All of these faces, all of your students are familiar with. But how about adding other emoticon faces or perhaps other drawings to your classroom so that students can react and they can design themselves a new icon, a new emoji that they can use in order to react to each other's work. Like, for example, this purple flower. Which other drawings or emoticons do you think can be used to engage in the 21st century? What are any other drawings or emoji or emoticons we can use in the classroom that we can design and bring into our classrooms? A star, very good, yeah. Superman and Superwoman, yeah. Come on, you can do it. How would you draw that? What would be the drawing for come on, you can do it? I wonder. A star, good job. Yeah. I am looking here into our emoticon faces. Perhaps this one, a happy face. Or perhaps this one, to celebrate. To celebrate. Something boring. Yes, I'm falling asleep. That's a nice one too. We also, or horror, that's horrific. I suggest this also shows us that it's important for us to choose the emoticons and the emoji in advance to decide which are the acceptable emoji or drawings that we can use in this classroom to react to the work done by others. Select, make a list of them, choose them in advance so that you don't have any naughty students that choose emoticons or drawings that might offend or might be rude. So you make a list of your reactions that are acceptable in the classroom to react to the presentations made by other students. Now, here are some other emojis. These ones I've taken from LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, at the bottom of every post, they have these icons that people can use to react to the posts of others. What do you think they all mean? Well, the thumbs up we are familiar with. What about the two green hands? What is the message of the two green hands? Bravo, very good. Celebrate, good. Agreement, okay. Then we have a purple hand giving love. What is the meaning of this emoji? the purple hand giving love. Encouragement, yes. This is sympathizing when the situation is a little bit difficult, when there are feelings involved. You could use the purple hand with the heart to sympathize with others. The heart emoji is a traditional one. We are all very familiar with it. What about the yellow light bulb? Creative, yes, very good. Yes, imaginative, great idea. This is an insightful idea. Good. And the final one, the purple face with the hand on the mouth. Thinking, yes. Considering, confused, yeah. May need more consideration, correct, yeah. So this is also a way in which we can give information to the students making the presentations about the response that their presentation is having on the rest of the classroom. This is really important because it is a way in which students can share what they are feeling about the context and about the work that is being shared in the classroom. Now, which of these do you think you would use in your classroom? All, okay. Okay, 1, 2, 5, and 6. Yeah. Very good. Yes, I agree with you that all of them are very useful. I would recommend, as I was saying previously, that you choose a range, perhaps 5 or 6 is a good number. Just choose the 6 reactions that you're going to use in your classrooms. Choose the picture for the reaction and agree with all the classroom, with all the students about the meaning of that reaction. Because as you can see, when I was talking or I showed one of these images, most of us agreed about the meaning of the image, but some of us had different ideas. So if you're going to use these reaction images in the classroom to share ideas with your students, to give feedback, both you and your students can use them, then you would have to choose which ones you're going to use, and you would have to agree on the meaning of these reactions. Now, I see that a lot of you are saying it depends on each situation. It depends on the levels of the students and the content. Now, how does it depend on the level? Can we expand a little bit on this? You were saying it depends on each situation and students' abilities. The good thing about emoticons and these kind of reactions is that because students are using an image, they don't need to use a lot of language. So it really helps for students, all students' abilities, because all the students will recognize the meaning of a love heart. The great thing about reactions is that the students don't need a lot of language. They just choose an image that has already been agreed with the classroom, that this image means, for example, love, in the case of a love heart. So it's emoji and emoticon faces are very inclusive. Great. So we have in this webinar gone through the 4 learning skills that are developed in a classroom. These 4 learning skills can be developed on their own with an activity that focuses specifically on one skill, or as you could see, there are many activities that develop more than one skill, especially if the students are collaborating with each other and they're working in groups, either in the classroom, using a Google document or a Padlet where they collaborate using technology, or working on their own in one activity in the classroom or at home. Now, I'd like to just summarize again that critical thinking involves thinking more deeply. So going into a situation, an idea, a concept, comparing and contrasting, finding similarities and differences, and going into the topic a little bit more deeply. Creativity means thinking outside the box. So looking at a situation and thinking perhaps the first idea that comes to our head is the more common idea, but then we should try and encourage students to look at things in different ways, to try and continue brainstorming ideas, looking at a situation and coming up with new ways of solving problems, new ways of looking at things. When we think about collaboration, we will perhaps more naturally think of students working in groups and talking to each other. But today I have shown you that students can collaborate in writing. Students can use a brainstorming tool like Padlet. They can use Google Docs. They can collaborate in the classroom without using technology on a large piece of paper where everyone writes their opinions, answers, or comments. So collaboration can be done both in talking to other students, but also writing and working on paper. So that brings us to communication, different ways in which students can communicate. And I can see here a comment in the chat box saying the ability of working in groups or teams. And you are absolutely right. Working in groups is not a natural, innate ability. We very often have to teach students how to collaborate. And I have found in my experience that one of the best ways of teaching students to collaborate and communicate is to prepare activities in stages. So like the example of the Padlet, when we are brainstorming together, I assign
a minute or 2 minutes of my classroom time just to brainstorm ideas. All the students need to do is brainstorm all of their ideas on paper, and they just accept all of the ideas. No idea is rejected. So there we are actually teaching students to be respectful of each other's ideas. Then we move on to the next stage, which is the selecting ideas. And in the selecting idea stage, I tell my students that when they choose which idea to keep and which idea to reject, they've got to have a good reason. They've got to be able to justify their ideas. So in these selecting stages, students need to think carefully using Venn diagrams in order to find similarities, find differences, find ideas that are good ideas with good reasons to keep them and select them. So prepare these activities in different stages so that you focus students on one task at a time, and you teach them to accept each other's ideas, to be respectful, and to work with their minds, not, at different times, especially using critical thinking skills when they are selecting things. And finally, reactions. Reactions help us to give quick feedback about the information that we've received, quick feedback about what others are saying and sharing. So this would be perhaps a good time for you to share some reactions about this workshop with me. Perhaps you can share how you feel about these ideas that we've shared this morning. It's good for me to know what you feel about these activities, whether you find them helpful or useful. That's great. It makes me very happy that you found some of the activities helpful and excellent, useful. Thank you. Informative. Such a great presentation and honor. It is my honor to be with you this morning. Well, it's this afternoon for you. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. I am quite sure that many of these things you probably already do in your classrooms. My experience of working in Vietnam tells me that you are very resourceful, you plan your lessons very carefully, and you bring, if you can, and if you have the resources, technology and digital technology into your classrooms. What I hoped today is just to link what we do with the 21st century skills and how changing little things that we do in the classroom can improve the way we develop our learning skills. I would like now to give you the opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. If you share any questions you may have in the chat box.
So many thanks, Teacher Connie, for your presentation this afternoon and your morning. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Thưa các thầy cô, dạ vâng, bây giờ thì chúng ta sẽ còn khoảng 15 phút nữa để chúng ta có thể đặt những câu hỏi cho cô Connie ngày hôm nay. Các thầy cô có thể đánh câu hỏi vào trong phần Q&A để phần tin nhắn của mình không bị trôi đi ạ. Và cô Connie sẽ sẵn sàng trả lời những cái thắc mắc hoặc là băn khoăn của các thầy cô trong quá trình mà triển khai bài học trên lớp của mình. Rõ ràng chúng ta có thể thấy được rằng trong gần 2 tiếng của buổi chiều ngày hôm nay thì cô cũng đã chia sẻ với chúng ta. Vậy thì chúng ta sẽ khai thác các hoạt động trong sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success như thế nào để có thể phát huy và phát triển được những cái năng lực, những cái kỹ năng học tập của thế kỷ 21 cho học sinh. Và cũng như các thầy cô, tôi hy vọng rằng là các thầy cô cũng có một cái cảm xúc với tôi lúc này, đó là chúng ta mới thấy rằng tất cả những cái hoạt động đấy hóa ra nó cũng không có gì quá phức tạp, đúng không ạ? Chính là những hoạt động mà các thầy cô đang triển khai bình thường ở trên lớp, và chúng ta có thể ở đâu đó không nhận ra rằng mình đang chính mình đang triển khai những hoạt động để kích thích tất cả những cái trí tưởng tượng, sự sáng tạo cũng như là những cái tư duy phản biện, những cái kỹ năng hợp tác và giao tiếp của học sinh. Và rất hy vọng rằng những cái hoạt động, những cái phần thiết kế về phần nội dung và các cái hoạt động được thiết kế mới trong bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success sẽ giúp cho giáo viên và học sinh có những cái cơ hội để phát triển những cái kỹ năng học tập này. Và thông qua một cái buổi chiều chia sẻ rất là ngắn buổi ngày hôm nay thì hy vọng quý thầy cô giáo đã có được trang bị thêm cho mình những cái kỹ năng để có thể là triển khai những cái hoạt động đấy trên lớp một cách hiệu quả hơn ạ. Và bây giờ thì chúng ta sẽ có thêm một vài phút nữa để có những cái chia sẻ và trao đổi câu hỏi Q&A với cô Connie. Các thầy cô có những cái thắc mắc hoặc băn khoăn gì cần chia sẻ thêm thì các thầy cô có thể vui lòng đánh vào trong phần Q&A ạ. Phần Q&A. Vâng, chúng tôi nhận được một câu chào từ quận Nam Từ Liêm. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô rất là nhiều. Vâng, ở đây có một câu hỏi từ trường trung học cơ sở Trung học phổ thông Lê Quý Đôn ạ. Is Connie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Here I am.
The Q&A.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, do we have any questions?
Yeah, we can see that the questions in the Q&A box.
Correct. Oh, thank you so much. Very good. Can you suggest some books that contain more activities besides textbook and also improve creativity? Yes, I can put together a list that I can share with, I can perhaps put together a list that I can share with Pearson, and Pearson can share with you afterwards. That would be no problem at all. I think the activities that improve creativity need to be always activities where there is more than one answer. So you can, of course, find a new book. There are some books that can be used in the language classroom with activities to develop creativity. But I find that what develops creativity more is just allowing students to do activities where there is more than one answer. I know that this session, for example, is about working with teenagers. But one thing I used to do every morning with my primary school students would be bring an object, any object. It could be a soft ball, and I would show them the ball, and they would have 1 or 2 minutes to just think of 20 uses for that soft ball. And the students would come up with them first with common ideas: play football, play tennis, play handball. But as the time went by, they would come up with the most incredible creative ideas. So sometimes the activities that develop creativity can be very simple, as long as we as teachers allow lots of different answers, and all of the answers are accepted, and we give them a little bit of time to think and come up with new ideas. Red says, can you give some more games to make meaningful lessons? All right. I am going to include perhaps some simple games that do not require a lot of planning, because I know that we as teachers are really busy
So the activities that I like to share with teachers when I do my training sessions are activities that that don't require a lot of preparation time because we are busy. So the games need to be things that have to do with getting students to create and design. I have today shared with you the activity Draw and Tell. This is a version of the Pictionary activity. It's a lot of fun. It gets students developing creativity, and it can be used, well, for vocabulary, where you give one student a word and they have to draw it, and the rest of the class has to guess the word. But they can also be used, this draw and Pictionary or draw and tell activity can also be used to explain things. For example, I found with it works very well with teenagers when they have to, for example, explain an abstract concept like love or friendship, and they can only draw, but they cannot talk. So they've got to draw the meaning of an abstract concept or the meaning of a phrasal verb. Draw and tell works very good for phrasal verbs. So if I think of any other games that are useful, I will share them with Pearson so they can share them with you after the workshop. Now, Hung Son says to teach project in students' book interesting. How to make the project interesting? Well, I think one of the ways of making anything, not just the project in the book interesting, but making all the activities that students work in groups interesting is to get students. We say that this day and age we have to give students voice and choice. What this means is that I would give students the option to express their opinions about this project and perhaps suggest a change to the project or to the activity. So whenever you are designing an activity that is going to work in groups or a project, it's going to involve working in groups or involve a project, get the students involved in designing the task. Give students voice. So for example, in the project that we just saw, the project was about food around the world. Well, if the students are not too interested in food around the world, then maybe perhaps they can suggest another topic related to the topic on the book that maybe they are more interested in. So give students a voice. And by giving them a voice, by letting them become involved in the task, you also give them a choice. Sometimes what I used to do with teenagers with every project is when I design the project from the book, I added a couple of choices. So when they make a presentation, the book says they make a poster. They make a poster and they present the project, the presentation. Well, that's one option. I would add another option. Well, how about instead of a poster presentation, you create a video on TikTok? So that's another option. And you're giving them a student, the class, the choice. It could either be a poster presentation or a TikTok video. Give them voice and choice, and you will see that your projects are going to be more engaging and more effective. Can you introduce more techniques? Yes, I could. Perhaps we need to have more workshops like this, don't we? Yes, more activities and techniques for developing learning skills. There's lots of ideas, and it would be wonderful if you could share ideas with each other, because I'm sure you also have lots of good things you do in the classroom that are working great. Second question, how to prove to students that they're all fair and they all gain something while working with someone they don't like or working with someone at a different level from them. Well, I think what is important here is that students understand that in the world of work nowadays, what is going to happen when they go to university or when they get a job is that they are going to have to work with lots of different people they like, people they don't like, and people that are intelligent and people that are not so intelligent. But I think we need to focus on the fact that everyone brings something onto the table, and perhaps the intelligent person brings an intelligent idea, but there may be another person in the group that is really good at drawing and can illustrate that idea. So by pushing people to communicate in different ways, in words, in drawing, in using their body, using video, using posters, you will find that there is always going to be someone that is very talented at something. And as teachers, we should highlight that difference so that students learn from the very first day that you are not just going to praise or congratulate one thing, that you're going to be open at many different ways of sharing content and sharing ideas.
Okay, so thank you so much, Miss Connie. We can see that a lot of questions here. Can I have you to answer some questions here related to our textbook?
Yes, please do.
Rất nhiều thầy cô ở đây có trong phần Q&A có nói là có thể chia sẻ cho chúng tôi các cái giáo án được hay không, hoặc là có thể xem những cái demo teaching video để các thầy cô có thể theo dõi được các cái bước lên lớp. Thưa các thầy cô, thì để chuẩn bị hỗ trợ cho các thầy cô giảng dạy và sử dụng bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success, thì Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam cũng đã chuẩn bị sẵn toàn bộ một cái bộ hợp phần bổ trợ đầy đủ, hỗ trợ cho các thầy cô từ giáo án lesson plan đến bộ bài giảng điện tử, và toàn bộ các cái tiết học, tất cả các cái lessons trong một unit thì cũng đã được chúng tôi quay thành các cái tiết giảng minh họa và đăng tải trên kênh YouTube của sách mềm. Các thầy cô hãy follow kênh YouTube để có thể theo dõi toàn bộ tất cả những cái demo teaching cho từng lessons ở trong mỗi một unit của sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success. Đó chính là những cái câu hỏi chung mà các thầy cô đã chia sẻ ở trong phần Q&A về phần giáo án, về phần tiết dạy minh họa, rồi các cái công cụ hỗ trợ. Ở đây thì có thêm một số những câu hỏi các thầy cô có hỏi về phần chuyên môn. Thực ra nếu trong một cái buổi chia sẻ ngắn như thế này thì có thể là giảng viên chưa thể có thể giúp đỡ các thầy cô giải đáp tất cả những cái thắc mắc này, và ban tổ chức của chúng tôi sẽ ghi lại tất cả những cái băn khoăn của các thầy cô để làm sao chúng tôi có thể tổ chức thêm những cái buổi workshop nhỏ mang tính chuyên đề trong thời gian sắp tới để giúp các thầy cô giải quyết từng vấn đề. Bởi vì tất cả các vấn đề trong lớp học của mình thì rất là nhiều, phải không ạ? Chúng ta sẽ không thể giải quyết được trong một hay hai buổi, mà sẽ làm cả một chuỗi những cái hội thảo sau này. Và Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam rất mong muốn trong thời gian tới sẽ tổ chức được nhiều những cái hội thảo chuyên đề ngắn, workshop để có thể hỗ trợ và giúp đỡ thêm cho các thầy cô trong thời gian sắp tới. Vâng, có rất nhiều câu hỏi ở đây thì chúng tôi đã ghi nhận lại rồi, và chúng tôi sẽ giải đáp các thắc mắc giúp cho các thầy cô, và có thể là sẽ tổ chức những cái workshop, những cái hội thảo chuyên đề ngắn hơn để giúp cho các thầy cô giải đáp những cái băn khoăn này, và có thêm nhiều những cái kỹ năng, đúng không ạ, trang bị thêm cho các thầy cô có thể triển khai được lớp học của mình hiệu quả hơn. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô, và bây giờ đã là 4 giờ rồi, và đây chính là thời gian mà chúng ta sẽ phải khép lại buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay. Chúng tôi đã ghi chép tất cả và lưu giữ những câu hỏi này để sau này chúng tôi sẽ có thể là tổ chức các cái buổi hội thảo tiếp theo để có thể giải đáp tất cả những cái băn khoăn này của các thầy cô. Vâng, thưa các thầy cô, hiện tại thì trong buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay, theo ghi nhận về các con số chúng tôi nhận được, thì hôm nay đã có gần 3.000 giáo viên tham gia trong cái khán phòng Zoom của chúng ta, và có hơn 500 các thầy cô đã theo dõi trực tiếp trên livestream trực tiếp trên YouTube, kênh YouTube. Và tất cả các nội dung của buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay chúng tôi đã thu âm lại và gửi lại cho các thầy cô. có thể đăng tải trên fanpage sách mềm để các thầy cô có thể xem lại, hoặc các thầy cô có thể xem lại buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay trên kênh YouTube của sách mềm ạ. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô rất nhiều, và hy vọng rằng trong những buổi hội thảo sắp tới thì các chuyên gia của Pearson sẽ có nhiều cơ hội để chia sẻ thêm với các thầy cô. Và thưa các thầy cô, về việc hướng dẫn cho các thầy cô giảng dạy chi tiết hơn bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh Global Success trong thời gian tới, thì Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam cũng đang trong chiến dịch tổ chức các cái đợt tập huấn dài hạn cũng như ngắn hạn để giúp các thầy cô có thể sử dụng và triển khai các bài học ở trong bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh này một cách hiệu quả hơn. Các thầy cô hãy chuẩn bị sẵn sàng đầu tư thời gian để có thể tham dự những cái buổi chia sẻ và tập huấn này các thầy cô nhé. Các thầy cô hoàn toàn yên tâm, đây chỉ là một trong những hội thảo chuyên đề mở đầu cho cái chuỗi hội thảo chuyên đề của mùa hè này thôi. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô rất là nhiều. Vâng, và sau đây thì trên màn hình các thầy cô có thể thấy mã QR code để các thầy cô có thể điền các cái thông tin của mình, sau đó để ban tổ chức có thể gửi chứng nhận tham gia ở buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay, gửi về email các thầy cô ạ. Vâng. So once again, thank you very much, Miss Connie, for your presentation this afternoon, and we hope that we look forward to your presentation in the coming time. Thank you very much again, Connie. Vâng. Cảm ơn các thầy cô rất là nhiều ạ. Vâng, chúng tôi nhận được những lời cảm ơn từ phía các thầy cô đối với diễn giả teacher của chúng tôi hôm nay, và hy vọng đây là những cái động lực sẽ giúp cho chúng tôi, Nhà xuất bản Giáo dục Việt Nam và Pearson sẽ cùng hợp tác chung tay để hỗ trợ cho các thầy cô giáo trong thời gian sắp tới ạ. Cảm ơn các thầy cô rất là nhiều. Chúng ta sẽ dành những phút còn lại để hoàn thành cái công tác điền thông tin của mình và nhận chứng nhận đã tham dự hội thảo ngày hôm nay. Và link này chúng tôi sẽ vẫn mở trong vòng 30 phút nữa. Vâng, các thầy cô có thể thoải mái để điền thông tin của mình và sau đó sẽ nhận chứng chỉ của chúng tôi sau. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô rất là nhiều ạ. Bye bye, thank you Miss Connie. Bye bye.
Bye bye, thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, you too. Vâng, ở đây có một số câu hỏi là cần tài khoản sách mềm để sử dụng trên lớp. Vâng, có nhiều các thầy cô. Vâng, chúng tôi, các thầy cô ơi, bây giờ thì trang web sách mềm đã được mở miễn phí. Các thầy cô sẽ chỉ cần vào đăng ký là giáo viên thôi thì ngay lập tức tài khoản của các thầy cô sẽ được kích hoạt là tài khoản giáo viên để sử dụng sách mềm. Vì vậy các thầy cô sẽ đừng ngại ngần mà chúng ta hãy truy cập ngay fanpage sách mềm để chúng tôi có thể hỗ trợ, hoặc vào ngay website sách mềm.vn, nhấn vào nút đăng ký để chúng tôi có thể cấp ngay tài khoản sách mềm cho các thầy cô sử dụng. Vâng, cảm ơn các thầy cô rất là nhiều. Vâng, ban tổ chức có thể gửi lại đường link để khai các thông tin của giáo viên. Vâng, các thầy cô xem lại trong phần chat box ạ. Nếu thầy cô nào không quét được mã QR code thì chúng ta sẽ vào đường link ở trong chat box mà chúng tôi vừa gửi để có thể khai thông tin của mình trong đó ạ. Các thầy cô đừng khai email của mình trong chat box ạ, mà chúng ta hãy vào phần Google để khai thông tin của mình trên đó ạ. Chúng tôi sẽ lưu lại và gửi lại chứng nhận tham gia hội thảo ngày hôm nay cho các thầy cô ạ. Cảm ơn các thầy cô rất là nhiều.
Còn 16 phút nữa. Thì có đủ 4 rưỡi người ta nhỉ? Nhỉ?